Today we'll be taking a look at the Adeptus Ministorum index options, thanks to a request, so please keep those coming. Before we start looking at the models, let's take a look at the special rule for Ministorum models, Zealot. You can re-roll failed hit rolls for a unit with this ability in a turn in which it charged, made a heroic intervention, or was charged by an enemy unit. Very solid special rule, especially since the Ministorum index options are nearly entirely melee in nature. One thing to remember for this special ability interaction is that Sisters of Battle are a subsection of Adeptus Ministorum, and therefore will benefit from any rules that benefit Adeptus Ministorum infantry. Let's get started with the only HQ choice for Ministorum, Uriah Jacobus. The Murder Hobo is 100 points, hits on 3s, and has a 4-up invulnerable save with 5 wounds. Pretty solid. He brings 2 special abilities. First is the Banner of Sanctity, which says that friendly Adeptus Ministorum and Astra Militarum models within 6 inches of Uriah Jacobus add 1 to their leadership characteristic. I like this rule, but much like the Dialogus, I don't think it particularly has a great spot in the army at the moment, since you are unlikely to take really large units to gain a great benefit from this ability, especially since the second ability he has is shared by a significantly cheaper non-character Ministorum priest. That being said, if the Beta Codex makes increasing the squad sizes more valuable, this rule could become a much more valuable special rule in my current estimation. Second ability he has is War Hymns. You can add 1 to the attack characteristic of all friendly Adeptus Ministorum infantry and Astra Militarum infantry models that are within 6 inches of any friendly Ministorum priest. This ability is absolutely valuable. Since you are going to want to skew melee with the Adeptus Ministorum, this is how you try and maximize the value of the unit's attacks, as well as create even more synergy with the Zealot special rule. On top of that, if you have a Canonist with a Blade of Admonition getting an extra attack, or Celestine going to 7 attacks base, you're going to see the value in this. All that said, as much as I love Uriah Jacobus' silly model, I don't see much use in bringing Uriah, since you can fit almost 3 Ministorum priests for the same cost. Next, we'll cover the standard Ministorum priest, 35 points, hits on 4, 4 wounds, and a 4-up invulnerable save. He does get some more weapon options than Uriah as a non-unique character, though I'm not sure how many points I want to invest in him, since I want to keep him just close enough to give his buffs to the unit he's chaperoning, but not quite in melee where he's going to get killed pretty casually. There isn't too much to say about this model that I haven't already said, given that they share effectively the same rule as Uriah. Other than if you take a unit of Repentia, Archiflagellants, or Crusaders, you'll probably want to make room for this model, since he will buy them an extra model or 2's worth of attacks every turn. The first unit in the index is Crusaders. Hit on 3s, strength 3, 2 attacks with 3-up invulnerable save. Very tough unit for 15 points a model, with a priest making it 3 attacks hitting on 3s, re-rolling most turns, wounding most things on 5s with the AP -3. These units are very good, although mostly when I've seen them it's been to put them with a psychic power to give them the +1 to their saving throw, to give them a 2-up invulnerable, which I'm not a huge fan of. I mean, after all the silliness of 2-up invulnerable saves in 7th edition, I could do without models getting anything better than a 3-up. But that's just my personal opinion and not how the game actually works. Next, we have Deathcold Assassins, hitting on 3s, strength 4, 4 attacks, and a 5-up invulnerable save. I think they're a very cool option, more volume than the Crusaders, better strength, with nearly as good of an AP value, though not nearly the same survivability. At 17 points a model, they're a bit more expensive, but I see them as a viable option, except for one thing, the fact that Archiflagellants exist. Granted, these girls have a -2 AP sword, so they will mitigate saves much more than Flagellants, but for the points, the Archiflagellants are just hard to pass up. So let's jump to them. 15 points a model, hit on 3s, strength 5, 2d3 attacks, and a 5-up invulnerable save already make them seem really good, but this last little bit is what puts them over the top. They have 2 wounds each. So you combine that with a Ministorum priest, you can expect to have 50+ attacks on a full unit of 9, re-rolling to hit, wounding most infantry in the game on 3s. Any models that save on 3-ups are likely to just drop the whole unit. And then you have a unit of 5-up invulnerable 2-wound models that will take some serious fire volume to clear. I enjoy these models, and when I don't take Pure Sisters, a Sororitas Rhino with 9 Flagellants and a Priest is pretty much always present. These models are pretty terrible into anything tough, like tanks. I mean, they're not going to kill a Rhino most turns. So you want to try and make sure that you're putting your target priority in the right spot so that they can clear off something that's gumming up, say, your repressors or your immolators. You would also hope that if you brought the suite of meltaguns from Dominions that they should be able to knock out most of the armor, letting the flagellants take care of screening and chaff, doing the work on infantry models that they're designed to kill. I think these guys are one of the standouts of a strictly Ministorum option alongside the Priest. Lastly, that brings us to the Penitent engine. 129 points, hitting on 3s, strength 10 in melee, toughness 6, 4 attacks, and a 4-up armor save. It's armed with a double heavy flamer and an AP-3, 3 damage melee weapon. I'm honestly pretty torn about this model. It is just tough enough that bolter fire is unlikely to drop it. However, it's just weak enough that anything heavy will pretty casually remove it from the table. Your opponent should always remove this model, because if it does get into melee, it has a chance to really do some impressive damage. The Zealot rerolls plus strength 10 attacks means that you will likely make them attempt saves and kill most things that don't make those saves. Then if they do survive, you have the Desperate for Redemption special rule, which states roll a d6 after completing the first set of attacks for a unit of Penitent engines in each fight phase. On the roll of a 4+, the unit can immediately pile in and attack for a second time. So if you have the chance for 8 attacks hitting on 3s rerolling and wounding essentially everything on 2s or 3s, possible maximum damage output of 24 damage, it seems really good to be able to strip a knight down to its lowest profile in a single fight phase. However, since they for some reason removed this model from Adepta Sororitas, it lost the Shield of Faith save, which was really important for its ability to safely cross the table. 7 plus d6 movement means you have to hope you can hop from line of sight blocking terrain to another to avoid getting shot up, and the model's just too expensive to casually give away, since for the same points you can nearly buy a full unit of Seraphim with 4 Inferno pistol shots a turn, and the ability to move 24 inches. Like, I love this model, I think I own 5 or 6 of them, but for them to really find a place in Army List, I think it needs either to move faster up the board or gain more survivability. Like the Repentia, this is a model I have high hopes for come December, as part of my wish list that it is back in the fold of Adepta Sororitas. That was the Ministorum Index. I hope you enjoyed that short breakdown and let me know what else you'd like to see. I think my next video is probably going to be going over the Armies on Parade board that I'm working on, since I've made some pretty good progress, and hopefully you like what I've done. Good luck in your wargaming, and Ave Imperator.